What's up, everybody? Another episode of Frenemies alongside David Swor. I am DJ Cox, and today we want to get to the New York Mets. And David, before we even start here, I wanted to ask you a question that I've kind of been wondering about since you're a Yankees fan. How do you feel about the Mets as a Yankees fan since, I don't know, how do you feel about them?
You know, I have to admit the Mets. I never was, let's say, a fan, but I always kept up with them. I'm an avid New York Post reader, and so I've kept up with them over the years. But to be honest, they were never a threat to the Yankees. It's not like the White Sox Red Sox thing, or White Sox Cubs thing. The Mets were kind of always little brother a little bit, and so. So in addition to kind of being little brother, some of my favorite players from the Yankees championship run came from the Mets. Think about Darryl Strawberry. I was so excited when the Yankees got Darryl Strawberry because I always remembered him from his Mets days. Doc Gooden pitched that no-hitter for the Yankees, I believe, in '98. David Cone, huge part of those teams, super gutsy, now a broadcaster for the Yankees. And so I guess I had more positive feelings for the Mets than I did negative. And they also had a great West Virginian on their team. I like to throw that in there. Old Rick Reed from back in the day. He was a key cog for them in some of their better years. He was from Huntington, West Virginia. So that was pretty cool. And actually, on that note, I need to bring this up. We had one teammate who was for sure a Mets fan, and he always used to call me Rick Reed back in the day because he knew he was a West Virginian. And he passed away in the last couple of days, and that was Adam Meshaw. I believe it's the second teammate that we've played with who's passed, the first being JP back in 2000. And, really sad for his family. I feel sorry, for his kids losing their dad. Adam was a huge baseball fan. I used to love to hear stories about Adam and his dad. They used to go to spring training every year. His dad was a pastor, huge Pirates fan. And, when I first got to Temple, it was really tough to be a freshman, just being honest about it. Adam had already been there a year. And so I really didn't get to know Adam for a couple years. And, when you're pitchers, a lot of times you're stuck in the dugout doing nothing for hours on end, and in practice, long tossing and all that running. And so me and Adam became pretty good friends, and going to miss him, going to miss talking about fantasy baseball with him and the Mets. And, just really, really sad to see him go. So, Adam, we're kind of dedicating this episode to you. We're going to miss you, buddy. And hoping for a good year from the Mets for you.
All right, yeah. So along those lines, man, continuing with that, going to the 2019 Mets, can you kind of start us off and just give us a recap of exactly what happened with those guys?
Well, they were pretty disappointing. Disappointing in one way and then not in another. They made a late season run there, man. They got themselves in the conversation, for the playoffs. It was very interesting, actually. They kind of started slow and just were kind of mediocre, and then they started making some moves, man, getting Stroman. We talked about Stroman in that last episode. And, they got some super interesting young guys, man. Alonso, I believe he hit 53 homers last year. They've got a really good core of young players, but they also had a lot of disappointment. They made a huge trade to get Edwin Diaz to be their closer. And, man, he just completely bombed out, man, completely bombed. And now the guys they traded for him at Seattle are like they're Seattle's top prospects. Specifically, I think I'm going to butcher his name, but Kalenic, I believe is how you say his name. He totally came through Charleston. The Mets were Seattle was a affiliate here in Charleston with the Power, and so he came through here. He's going to be a stud, one of the top prospects in baseball. And so anyway, it was an interesting season. They finished in third, I believe, with 86 wins, if I'm not mistaken, and had a lot to build on for this year. But what did you think about it?
Yeah, I'm going back to what you were talking about earlier. So we talked about this with Gardenhire in our Tigers episode. I think you know where I'm going with this. Jordan Zimmerman had statistically one of the worst seasons ever last year. And Edwin Diaz, I'll tell you what, man, I don't remember a situation where you got a guy who was an absolute dog in 2018, just unbelievable, all-star stud for the Mariners, and he comes over to the Mets, and I'm telling you, man, he completely bombed, and not like time after time after time. And I am 100% sure of this fact that if if they would have ran away from him and just said, "Holy cow, this guy's," they might have won that division, man. I'm just being honest. He
That's the
blew a
problem.
ton of games for them. And
Yeah.
this goes back to the decisions a manager's got to make, man. I don't know how Mickey Callaway just kept running him out there. He just got bombed and bombed and bombed and bombed. And are you
I'll tell you
kidding?
why. I did a little bit of research on him today. Even in the midst of bad, there were glimpses of good. So his strikeout rate was still really high. I don't know if he had a home run problem. I don't know if he just had bad luck, because that can happen to pitchers. A lot of times they're batted balls or whatever, the percentage is out of whack. I don't know for sure. I didn't look it up. But it is really crazy because he had literally a historic season as a 24-year-old the year before, and then he had a historic season the other direction. And it wasn't like there weren't guys. They had Lugo back there who had a great season, who maybe you could have used to close. They had some guys in that bullpen. And I'm like you, man, when you're trying to make the playoffs, and the Mets, I'm not sure anybody expected them to be in that conversation. I didn't. But DeGrom is just a beast. They had some good years out of some rookies they weren't expecting. Conforto came on, Alonso came on, and so, man, you'd have thought at some point they'd have been like, okay, enough's enough. We've got to just get somebody to close these games out. But you're right, man, they didn't, and that is a head scratcher. I don't understand it either.
So they started the season 40-50, and that was a lot of the problem with Edwin. Just completely blowing games that whole stretch. And it looked like the train was just going down nowhere. And to their credit, man, they finished in fifth place somehow, and they went 46-26 the rest of the way. But honestly, man, I can't get over what Callaway just kept running over. See, I just, like I said before, man, I have no patience for bad pitching. I just don't. And I don't. That's another thing I think we got a problem with too. Is you kind of look. I don't know, man. It's hard because he was great the year before, so that's why you're kind of thinking maybe he's just going through a little funk. But this was historically bad. This wasn't just a few hiccups, man. He just kept time after time after time just bad and buried him, really, to be honest with you. Because imagine if he would have just won a few of those games. Their bullpen was terrible. And it wasn't just him. I'm not completely just throwing him under the bus, because there's a lot of other guys in that bullpen that did the same thing, that blew games for these guys. Their bullpen was terrible last year, especially during that 40-50 run. And that honestly meant the playoffs for them.
Yeah.
How bad they struggled with that awesome rotation they had. Their bullpen just blew it for them. So.
Yeah, I agree with you, man. That's kind of a missed opportunity. They could have been there with just a couple extra players. They could have been in the conversation for sure. They were almost in it anyway. But they just had some really good seasons out of guys, like I said, that I think were out of nowhere a little bit. They weren't expecting to have seasons like that anyway. So they're a fun little team, man. They got a good core of young guys. They're on that lineup, and I know we're going to double back to that, but like Jeff McNeil, man, he came out of nowhere. He came out of nowhere and had just an awesome season last year. And is he going to do that again? I don't know. Then you got Conforto, you got Alonso, you got Ahmed Rosario had a great season last year. J.D. Davis had an awesome season, and now you got Cespedes coming back.
Ooh,
and I know you're going to find this hard to believe. I'm a Cespedes fan.
You are.
Cespedes is healthy. Oh, when Cespedes is healthy, he's a freak, man. And now, short season, we got the DH. So I think if they can keep him healthy, man, he's a 30 home run guy. So that lineup just got a lot more interesting.
Yeah, we're gonna get into Cespedes, no doubt, in this show. That's for sure. Here he goes, man. This guy's something else, and they can catch something out of him. I saw something today where the ESPN. So I'll bring this up, I guess, before I say this. So what do you think the 2020 strength of this team is, David?
It's that lineup, it's those core players they have. Now they have a couple question marks. Center field, I think they need some help there. Neither one of those guys can really hit, but both of them are good fielders. They're going to do a good job patrolling center field. But the rest of that team, man, pretty much in every position, even a guy like Cano. I know Cano's got some heat. He's getting older. He obviously did steroids. But, man, Cano's still when he wants to be, Cano is still a dangerous player. And, just in every position, they've got some strong guys. So, to me, the biggest strength that they have is their lineup and the youth that they have in it. What do you say?
Yeah, I agree. I saw something today. ESPN had them ranked as the 5th best offense in the game. That surprised me a little bit.
Hard to argue.
Yeah, it is. It kind of surprised me a little bit, to be honest with you, David, and look back on their lineup. And, man, I'm going to talk about Pete Alonso a little bit, man. What a season.
Yeah.
What a season. And I completely forgot to get on my rant about this, but I got the perfect opportunity since we went from the Blue Jays to the Mets to talk about this. So I'm going to talk about this. So strength, 53 bombs, 120 ribbies, rookie of the year, and won the home run derby. Now, this is what I wanted to talk about last episode with Vladdy. We've got to figure something out with this, David. I cannot believe that Pete Alonso won the home run derby last year. Now, look, to his credit, obviously, he was the one that I would say survived and just kept hitting round by round. Vladimir Guerrero Jr. hit so many home runs, more home runs than anybody in the history of the Derby, and he lost. He lost.
So what's the answer, though? What do you do?
Here's what I do. I kind of figured this out. So, listen, I look back on this, too. ESPN did a top 10 because we've just gone through the All-Star break right now, which should have been. They did a top 10 all-time home run derby winner. Number 3 was Vladdy, and number 1 was Josh Hamilton, and neither of them won it.
Yeah,
neither
I remember the Josh Hamilton year.
Hamilton didn't win the home run derby that year, David.
Yeah.
So here's what you got to do. If you got 8 guys, you hit your home runs, your total never changes. You can't go round by round anymore. I'm done with that. Your home run total stays up there. Okay, if you hit 20 home runs in the first round and somebody sneaks by with 6, and then they get to the next round and they end up beating you, that's not fair.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you. And people don't realize you're like me, DJ. I'm sure you've tried to have a little home run derby in batting practices somewhere.
Yeah,
it's shocking how quick that will wear you out.
Yeah.
So hitting 20 home runs, bam, 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 it takes a toll on you.
He hit
And
20
it's hard to
home
finish
runs
strong.
in a row, David. Josh Hamilton hit 20 in a row
And still lost.
and lost.
You're right. They're going to have to do something about that. It's been a while since I've thought about that. I'll have to admit, I didn't watch the home run derby last year.
Come on, man. Vladdy hit like 50. It was unbelievable, the show he put on last year. And he just gassed out in the finals, man. He did. And who could blame him?
Yeah, no doubt.
Completely overdid it in the first 3 rounds. And that thing is such a marathon, too, man. You hit and you sit for a long time.
Yeah.
And then you hit again and you sit. That wears you down. So here's what you do, man. If you got 8 guys, the top 4 move on to the next round, the semifinals. You keep your total. The next 2 that have the, top 2 total home runs go on to the finals. And then if somebody's winning by 15 home runs, then so be it, man. I mean, I know it's not as fun as going 0-0 against each other in the finals, but that's not fair, man.
It's kind of anticlimactic, though.
I don't care. These guys hit so much. The climatic part is them hitting 20 home runs in a row. How do you not win the Derby when you hit 20 in a row, or you hit like 50 bombs like Vladdy did, and then you just gas out? That more people were upset that he lost it and Pete Alonso won it than anything. I mean, who cares that he won the Derby? Nobody's gonna remember that. They're gonna remember Vladimir Guerrero, and they're gonna remember Josh Hamilton, and neither of those guys won it. That's a shame, man. That's got to change.
That is a shame. I can't disagree with you at all on that, actually. I want to disagree just so we can argue, but I really can't disagree with you at all on that. I felt the same way. I can't even remember who was it that beat Hamilton that year. I totally watched it.
I cannot even remember who beat Hamilton, and our director Lindsay's going to look that up for us as we keep going here. Who beat Josh Hamilton in the home run derby? But I couldn't tell you off the top of my head.
No, I mean, obviously they had an awesome home run derby as well. You know what I remember about that home run derby? If I'm not mistaken, correct me if I'm wrong. It was in Yankee Stadium.
Yeah.
And I always had this dream of Josh Hamilton in pinstripes, man. I used to love me some Josh Hamilton. I know he's a tortured soul, so to speak, but man, what a monster Josh Hamilton was. Just a monster. So anyway.
I'll keep going then. I got off my little strength here by getting off on the home run derby a little bit, but the lineup is completely loaded. Conforto had a great year last year, man. 33 bombs, 92 ribbies. Wow. J.D. Davis isn't bad, 22 and 57. You got Jeff McNeil, who's 6'3", 190 pounds. Needs to eat a McNugget or a McBurger or something to get some weight on him, but man, he dogged it out with 23 and 75 and hit 318. That's a good hitter, man.
Great hitter, yeah.
Cano's going to bounce back. He's not going to have a 13 and 39 year again. Let's just on average, you know what I mean? Like, he's going to hit better than he did last year. Rosario had 72 ribbies as a shortstop.
Yeah.
That's crazy, man. So, and Ramos had like 75 as a catcher. And you kind of forget about this, though. So I don't know, man. They're by far the lineup is just completely loaded.
Yeah, I agree, man. It's kind of sad. I'm going to talk about the weakness. They had a strength that has now become a weakness, possibly, which is their pitching staff.
No.
So they had Thor, they had DeGrom. Was DeGrom they're still saying is coming back? And Stroman. That's a pretty stout top 3. Although I was listening to MLB Network today, and there was a scout that made a pretty good and Michal's going to haunt me for saying this, but he made a pretty good point. Thor overall has been pretty overrated. He's been pretty ordinary. Now, we've all seen the moments where he's throwing 100-mile-an-hour fastballs and nobody can touch him. But he's been pretty ordinary. So this was going to be kind of a make-or-break year for him and for the Mets. But if they'd had those 3 guys at full strength, and if Edwin Diaz comes back, and if Dellin Betances is Dellin Betances, I like the Mets. I like the Mets a lot, but I don't know, man. I don't know now.
I'm circling back here. What do you exactly mean about Syndergaard here? I don't really. You got to go into detail on this. I'm not understanding what you're saying.
So let me pull up his stats. Like I said, I heard them going through this today. Give me just a second here.
So I'll give them to you what I got down here, okay?
All right.
47 and 30 in his career. 3.31 ERA. 775 Ks in 716 innings. Only 166 walks. 9.7 Ks per 9.
Okay, here we go. Last year, 10-8 with a 4.28.
Oh, you talking about last year or in general?
Yeah, last year.
Okay. I'll give you
10-8, 4.28.
Oh yeah, that's a bad year.
Now he obviously had his moments. He pitched almost 200 innings, which is a big deal to me.
Oh, come on. Stop it. Hey, wait a minute, David. So if the love affair that Callaway had with Edwin Diaz, hey, just keep pitching 200 innings. Get out of here. No.
Well, the guys don't stay. That's the thing, DJ. You just don't pitching 6 or 7 innings in a game every start, which means that's what he's doing on a good team, a team that almost made the playoffs. That's an accomplishment, man, because nobody does that anymore. That means you're a good enough starting pitcher. I don't want to put my bullpen in there. I can pitch into the 6th or 7th inning every game. If you pitch 200 innings, you're averaging over 6 innings a start. That's hard to do in today's day and time. And like I said, his peripheral stats pretty good. Less than a hit per inning, more than a strikeout per inning. But a guy with a 4.28 ERA sounds more like a number 4 starter to me than a number 1, 2, or 3. But we know it's in there. He's had some great years. Injuries have bit him a lot. He only pitched 154 innings the year before that. Only had 25 starts. The year before that, he only pitched 30 innings. And so what I mean is it's time to finally see this come together. Not in glimpses, not in 10-start intervals, a full season, a 200 innings of Thor baseball, 3 ERA or down. But we've never seen that in a full season. And so that's really what I'm talking about. Last year was his first really full season since about his second one. And he was ordinary. He was average. But again, had they been able to keep him with Stroman, a full season of DeGrom. So here's what we're talking about now with that rotation. Now we got to depend on guys like Rick Porcello. You really want to go into going for the playoffs with Rick Porcello as your number 3 starter? Michael Wacha. The last time I remember Michael Wacha being interesting was like 5 years ago. And he was interesting, man. At a certain point, he was a stud. That's been a long time. And so it's kind of unfortunate, honestly. They got this great lineup, and really they went for it. They for good or bad, they made that Edwin Diaz trade because I thought they were going to win. They picked up Dylan Betances, paid him, and it looks to me like that's all going to be for naught. They're not going to have enough to overcome what else is in their division.
Yeah, so my weakness is losing Syndergaard, like you just mentioned. I mean, it's not specifically just the rotation that's the weakness. I think it's just taking him out of it. That's the weakness for them. Is, man, what a great staff that would have been with him, and you haven't even mentioned Steven Matz yet, who, I mean, we've never seen the real Steven Matz. Please step up because we haven't seen you, man. This guy was a monster prospect for them. They expected so much out of him. We've seen signs of greatness. We've seen signs of terribleness from him. Right. So which one are we going to get from him? That's a weakness. It really is. Losing Syndergaard, not knowing what you're going to get out of him. Like you just said, the two – man, those two guys, Wacha and Porcello. Porcello's like, which one are you going to get? The Cy Young Award winner or the guy that can't even go 500 and gets a 5 ERA, So,
I was so shocked the year that Porcello won the Cy Young. I kept waiting for it to fall apart, but it never did.
Yeah.
But, since that time, 4.65 ERA, 4.28, and then last year a 5.52. And the year before the Cy Young, 4.92.
Yeah.
So that leads me to believe that's who Rick Porcello is, not the Cy Young guy.
Yeah.
But, yeah, man, Syndergaard going down, it's just brutal. If you're a Mets fan, that's just brutal. Because they definitely had a chance. They could have matched up with about anybody's rotation with those three guys or been close. Maybe the Nationals got the three-headed monster over there, so it wouldn't have been that good, but close.
Yeah.
So anyway, very unfortunate.
Yeah. So our director has come up with who beat Hamilton in home run derby.
It was Justin Morneau.
Justin Morneau.
What? Justin Morneau?
Justin Morneau beat Josh Hamilton in a home run derby.
Oh.
10 guesses, and I never would have got that.
That can't be. Wow.
I'm telling you, man, nobody remembers that. He wasn't even close to hitting the amount of home runs Hamilton did. Come on. That's gotta be changed, man. Alonso and Morneau stole home run derby titles, man.
But Alonso
garbage. I don't know. Okay, so what do you got as the best case scenario for the Mets this year?
I just can't see them passing the Braves or the Nationals. I just don't see it. So that being said, you would like to see those guys continue to take a step forward. It would be really interesting if the Mets would hang around and be able to make a move for a pitcher, because I feel like that's we've talked about it all over it. That's what's holding them back. Do you expect this to be an active trade deadline, DJ, if you were guessing?
No.
I don't think so either. Because who's going to cash out?
Yeah.
Yeah. Nobody's going to cash out in a 60-win season. So,
nope.
Best case scenario for me is if they end up in third place, and I think that's definitely debatable with the Phillies coming on. So that's my best case scenario for them. If they continue to prove the lineup carries them, they get some surprises out of Porcello and company. Edwin Diaz comes back to earth and becomes himself again. That would be the best case scenario, third place.
So let me ask you this. If this team was as they are and Noah Syndergaard had not gone down, what would you think of them then? Would it change at all?
I think it would have the possibility to. I need to see Edwin Diaz be Edwin Diaz. That's a big problem.
Big time.
That's a big problem. And so I think it's possible. I think it's possible if they have Syndergaard, they could have been a real threat to the Braves or the Nationals. But
that's a
without him,
monster, man.
I just don't see it without him. I just don't see it. I mean, because the problem really becomes, there's nobody that can even come close to filling that role. There's nobody. There's nobody waiting in the wings. There's nobody who can say, well, if they call up this prospect, this is the guy that's going to do it. There's no one like that.
No.
And so, yeah, if they have Syndergaard, I think they had a really good chance to get in the conversation, but I don't know now.
I'm with you, man. That's why I think Syndergaard being their biggest weakness this year. I really do. If you look at it with him in there, man, okay, they've got the fifth best offense according to ESPN. They've got that rotation in that bullpen with Betances now. You're looking at a contender, man. You really are. Like they could overtake both the Braves and the Nats. They're like right there to do that with completely healthy, but you take him out of there, man, and it's tough. It all of a sudden becomes really tough. It does, and they're going to compete, I believe, but it's just a lot more questionable now, and I'm not even sure they're better than the Phillies really now anymore, to be honest with you. I mean, it's close. They're going to be close. I think it's going to be a lot similar to last year as far as this division goes with how it's going to end up. So it's tough, man. It's a tough one, no doubt, and it's a shame he had to go down because it changed their team completely.
Yeah, absolutely.
DJ,
what do you think about Dellin Betances? What's your? I'm a Yankee fan, so obviously I'm jaded, I'm biased. How big of an impact do you think that's going to have on that bullpen?
You're not biased, man. This guy is awesome. If he finds it, he is
If
nasty.
he finds it.
Oh,
Yeah.
I mean, he had a 0.00 ERA last year.
He struck out every batter he faced.
Yeah, 2/3 of an inning.
Oh man, I am such a huge Dylan Betances fan.
Yeah, I
He has-
see why.
There has been points in his career with the Yankees where he straight up carried their bullpen, where there was really nothing else in it besides Rivera and him. If you needed a couple innings, when he's on, he's big and he loses his mechanics really bad. But when he's on, he is literally unhittable. He throws 100 miles an hour. His slider just darts out of the zone. He makes so many good hitters look stupid when he's on. And I hated to see him go. I understand why the Yankees let him go. They were winning without him. He would have been their 5th or 6th inning guy this year. And he's too good for that. But I think he has the potential to really help that bullpen. And again, it's just a shame that Syndergaard went down. It might have all come together for the Mets this year.
I'm telling you, man, these guys are not far off. So when you look at this bullpen a little deeper, man, think about this, David. Edwin Diaz, we know, is an absolutely capable of being a stud. Dylan Betances, stud. Okay, you got Julius Familia, who's capable of being a stud. He really is. You got Seth Lugo out there, who they're high on. You got Hunter Strickland out there with, if anything, he can get in Bryce Harper's head and beat him up again, or or at least try to, get in his head to where, the Phillies can't play well when they're playing the Mets. But no, you got all them guys out there in the pen, man, and it's pretty loaded out there. And it's rotation, man. Oh, I'm just, man, if if you could have Syndergaard and Matz could just pitch like he's capable of in the 4 spot, you would have Porcello and Waka be the 5th guy and the long reliever, respectively. And all of a sudden, man, you are just looking at a contender, a legit contender. I hate to put one guy on there as, completely blowing this team up, but it's Noah Syndergaard, man. And I don't know. Maybe they'll prove me wrong. They've got the potential to make some damage. They really do. All 4 of those teams in the East are very good. So I'm not ruling them out.
Well, the Mets, I'm thinking through their offseason, they really didn't add a lot. And they won 86 games last year. So basically the same team. And now you're taking Syndergaard out. And you're replacing him with a guy like Rick Porcello. So if there was a full season, are they an 86 wins team now? I don't think so. It's just such, like you said, man, Syndergaard may have been the MVP of that team. Him or DeGrom, obviously. The most key player. And without him, I just don't see it.
Here's another thing, too, and I completely forgot about this until now. Who did they lose in that rotation in the offseason? Zach Wheeler.
Man.
Man.
I forgot about that dude, too.
David.
He went across town. He went to Phillies. He went in the division.
Think about this. Think about them if they signed Wheeler and had Syndergaard. And, oh, my goodness. So that kind of makes me wonder why they didn't sign him even more, man, because look at this team with Wheeler and Syndergaard. Wow.
Why did these teams pull up one player short? Seriously. Could they have lost Syndergaard and still been okay if they had Wheeler? Sure. But
probably, yeah.
You're one player short. You're one pitcher short. Like, how do you do that? Because you're in your window. You're in the window. You got to go for it. And, man, it probably crashed your season.
And you replaced them with Porcello and Waka.
Yeah. Ooh. Porcello was supposed to be your number 5, and you could get by with Porcello at number 5 maybe, or Waka. But now they're pitching key innings. It's just not going to work.
Yeah. So, what do you got for position battles?
All right, let me pull it. What is it?
You got anything for position battles?
Yeah, I actually accidentally clicked off. I was looking at something else while we were talking there. Let me pull this depth chart back up. I don't have my notes with me as usual.
There's a surprise.
There's a surprise. Let me see where I was going with this. And I think my internet's dying or something. I can't get it to pull up. Go ahead and give me yours, DJ. Let me double back.
Okay, so I'm gonna go with Cespedes. Okay, and here's why I'm saying.
Cespedes.
Yeah, this is what I'm going with. All right, I believe that he's got to find a spot. Okay, if this guy's healthy, he's got to be a starter. So what I'm getting at is J.D. Davis out there in left with 22 bombs and 57 ribbies. If you're putting Cespedes in left, you're sitting J.D. Davis, which is hard. If you make him the DH, you're sitting Dominic Smith, who I'm not high on, but for some reason these guys think he's going to be pretty good. He had 11 bombs and 25 ribbies and hit 282 last year. So maybe that's your battle. I don't get it. I'd put Cespedes there in a heartbeat. But I mean, the rest of this lineup's pretty set. There's not much going on there as far as any battles at all, to be honest with you. I'm just saying, get Cespedes in that lineup, man. That guy can mash. And if he's 75% healthy, he's way better than a lot of players. And that left field, that arm from left field is about as good as you're going to get in the league, too. So I seen him throw a ball.
Yeah.
I think in Boston, man. He's in the left field corner. And he threw the ball in the air to the catcher and just completely hosed the guy who was tagging on him. What a cannon. And if this guy stays healthy, he's got to be in the lineup.
Cespedes is a freak. I mean, he's just a physical specimen. You know, he's got a legendary workout video. If you guys haven't seen it, go to YouTube. I'm sure it's out there somewhere.
Really?
He's a legend. Have you not seen that?
Nope.
Oh, DJ. Oh, it's amazing, man. When he was, of course, I'm sure Boris had something to do with it. When he was, trying to, this is years ago, trying to get in America and get signed by a team, they put a workout video of him out there. You just need to see it, man. He's freakishly strong and obviously fast and cannon. I mean, he's a true five-tool player when he's healthy. And, I guess I didn't really think about that. Dominic Smith, that is going to be interesting to see how they play that. Though, the one hole that they have is in center field. They got Nemo and Jake Marisnik, who I'm assuming are going to be platooning. But when you've got to find playing time for some of these guys, you wonder if maybe somebody may end up sliding over there. Didn't Conforto play some center last year, if I'm not mistaken? And so maybe there's a way. I don't remember exactly either. And, back in the day, Cespedes played some center. And I'm sure they're going to want to protect him. But, man, it's going to be hard. If they believe in Dominic Smith, it's going to be hard to try to not get all those guys in the lineup somehow, some way. And maybe they can figure out a way. Maybe Cespedes plays some center, or maybe Conforto slides over. I don't know. But, yeah, otherwise, other than trying to find another starter from somewhere, you're right. They don't have any position battles. Bullpen is super deep. They even have some guys in that bullpen that I didn't realize had went there that are good bullpen guys. Justin Wilson, Brad Brock. Those are two guys who have been good for a while. Jairus Familia at one time was a great closer. And of course he's had some issues, and so their bullpen to me actually looks pretty stout this year. But like you said, not a lot of position battles with this team.
Nope, not too much. So here we go. Dylan Betances, Rick Porcello, Michael Waka, Jake Marisnik, Matt Adams, Eduardo Nunez, Hunter Strickland, Gordon Beckham, Melky Cabrera. Which one's going to make the biggest impact from the key ads this year?
Well, if he's healthy, it's got to be Betances. He is a true lockdown reliever. And I'm going to be honest with you, DJ. Let me ask you this question. Do you think it's possible for a setup man to make it to the Hall of Fame?
I think you got to start thinking about this a little bit now, especially
you do too.
Especially now that we've gone away from the 3-inning closer like of the time we were growing up as kids, where Eckersley would take the ball 7, 8, 9, Lee Smith 7, 8, 9, Goose Gosh is 7, 8, 9. These guys would throw 3 innings to get their saves, and the game's changed obviously to where they're specialists now, and you got guys that are 7th and 8th inning studs, and they hand the ball over to the closer, and they get no credit really. It's kind of like the worst position to be in as far as credit goes is the guys that get the holds. Nobody cares about that, to be honest with you. But
right,
you kind of have to, man. If a guy's pulling up some monster numbers as a reliever, he's the best at what he does as a middle reliever. You think about it.
Yeah, I'm with you, man. I thought about this when in Betances' glory days. He was buried behind the best closer of all time, so he wasn't getting any saves.
Mm-hmm.
The one year that he got a chance to get some saves, honestly, closer was just a bad fit for him. I don't know what it was. Betances does walk a lot of players, and he tends to pitch out of trouble. But listen to this stat right here. This is his career: 381 innings pitched, 621 strikeouts.
Wow.
The dude is unhittable. He has a 1.04 WHIP, and he walks people left and right. You're either striking out or getting walked. He just doesn't give up hits. And so if there was ever potential for a Hall of Fame setup man, it could be Betances, assuming he comes back healthy and gets it all together. So I definitely think that's the biggest ad for them this year.
I by far agree with that, and I don't for 1 second believe that he cannot have a great season. I think he can, and if he ends up being good, he should be their closer, to be honest with you. And if he's great in the 7th and 8th inning, you can put him in wherever role you want, and you just pray Diaz isn't awful like he was last year. They got a shot, man. They did a really good job with this team. They really did. And so what about – I think we already brought this up when we were talking, but here's their losses. Zach Wheeler, Todd Frazier, Joe Panik, Matt Kemp, A.J. Ramos. Pretty easy.
Yeah,
right?
so it's definitely A.J. Ramos.
Yeah. Yeah, I see why.
Yeah, man. It's Wheeler, wow. That guy – the Mets kind of had the same thing the Cubs had there at one point back when they had Pryorwood, Zambrano. They had a 3-headed monster and potentially a 4-headed monster this year with Stroman. And, if they'd have had all 4 of those guys, they probably would have been the favorite in the National League this year. They were that good, or a favorite. So, yeah, losing Wheeler, it really hurts. Just the rest of those guys. I mean, Todd Frazier, he carved out a role with them. Good team guy, but he can't match up to the impact that Wheeler had.
You got any good prospects for the Mets?
The Mets farm system's pretty crappy. I was looking through here. I mean, they're I think they were rated 25th. Let me pull up. I need to get me a stats girl like what you got in there, man. Because I'm not tech savvy enough to get back to where I was. But most of their prospects that they do have are a ways away. Like I said, their farm system is kind of hurting. They traded Kalenic, or however you say his name, maybe the top prospect in baseball now, and also the pitcher that they traded. He's one of the Mariners' top prospects is now too. So that really hurt. Of course, like I said, they were going for it. You can't really blame them for that, but not much coming up on the farm.
Yeah, I agree. I'm going to go with the number 63 overall prospect, Francisco Alvarez, catcher. The reason I bring this up is, our boy Wilson Ramos there, he's a good hitter. There's no doubt for a catcher. But, man, that guy gave up 93 stolen bases last year.
Oh, my goodness. I didn't know that.
Not really a good catcher. So you've got to be thinking this guy could come up. He's only, and he's not going to come up this year, but I'm talking eventually. He's 19 years old. He's 5'11", 220. He's just not ready yet. He's stinking young, but he's a good hitter, 312, 407 on base, and from what I've read, he's a good defender. So they've got a good catching prospect coming up, which not a lot of teams have that, and I think he's the starter of the future from everything I've read. So a couple years away, but like you said, very weak farm system when you go over this team as a whole, and man, it's not really much to talk about. Not really much that's going to help them in 2020, that's for sure. I don't think
No,
this is a team that has anybody come up this year and help them out. So
that's a big problem with their system too. That most of their top prospects are position players, and like their top prospect is a shortstop. Well, they got a shortstop, and so they're already talking about maybe trying to move him. But where do you move him? Maybe try to get him in center field. They definitely have a hole there. I saw maybe they had talked about moving him into third and moving McNeil over to second once Cano moves on. So I mean that's a possibility, but like I said, I can't really blame the Mets for going forward. A lot of times those prospects, they flame out. It sounds bad, and then they never make anything. So maybe this one, maybe that trade will actually work out for him, but it doesn't look good.
yeah, it does not look good at all. So let's go to the next segment here. You got any trivia for me?
I do not. I failed you, DJ. That's terrible, isn't it? It's been a long day, man. I've been coaching 7- and 8-year-old girls.
Ooh, God bless your
Maybe one of the worst coach pitch football teams you've ever seen. It's been a rough day today. So I apologize.
If you're coaching 7- and 8-year-old girls, man, you don't have to give me a trivia question. I'll be okay. All right, here we go. Are you ready for this one?
I'll do my best.
So I'm going to give you a little story before I give you this trivia question. I've always been groomed to hate the Mets. And do you have any idea why? Any certain team that would, from a long time ago, that my dad and my grandparents would kind of grew me into hating the Mets for whatever season that would be for the Cubs? Any ideas on that? I would hate.
All right, so the only good Mets teams were like in the 80s. So were they hating like the 86 Mets maybe?
No, that's the first year that I actually watched baseball, so I can remember those 86 Mets actually, which, by the way, it's funny you bring them up because there's going to be a 30 for 30, I believe, on the 1986 Mets. So Mets fans, keep your eyes open for that one. There's a special coming up on those guys, so that's going to be very cool to watch.
Very
Crazy
cool.
World Series there, but that'll be a fun one. Gooden and Strawberry got in a lot of trouble. Bill Buckner between the legs and night scores. A lot of cool things that go along with that 86 Mets team. So that'll be fun to watch. That's coming up pretty soon. So good bring up
Awesome.
on that. But no, the 1969 Mets, the Miracle Mets.
The Miracle Mets. Yeah, I should have thought of that.
So obviously they ran the Cubs over, who had 5 Hall of Famers on that team. Billy Williams, Ernie Banks, Ron Santo, Fergie Jenkins. Just loaded. What a team that was. Fell apart, and we obviously fell apart to the Mets. So
Wow.
Can you name 2 of the 6 starting pitchers on that 1969 Mets team?
Seaver and Nolan Ryan.
Good job.
He's also my favorite all-time Met. You know, we can go there too. Now, I told you he was going to be my favorite Met, my favorite Angel, all the way down the line. But anyway, hey, anytime you got a rotation with Seaver and Nolan Ryan in it, you're in pretty good shape.
David, this team, man, I cannot. Tom Seaver was 25-7 that year with a 2.21 ERA. Nolan Ryan that year was their worst starter, 6-3 with 353. Jerry Kuzman was 17-9 with a 228.
Wow.
Those guys, Tug McGraw. You know who Tug McGraw is?
Oh, yeah.
Tug McGraw is Tim's daddy, right? The old
Yeah,
country
that's right.
singer? You know all about that country
You
guy.
love you some country music, DJ. That proves it. I knew it.
Tug McGraw was 9-3 with a 2.24 ERA on that team.
Wow.
That boy could pitch, man, and he was on the mound when the Phillies won the World Series in 1982, I believe.
He
So
was
that
a
guy-
reliever by that point, right?
Yeah, he's got 2 World Series rings, man.
Yeah.
Pretty cool. But yeah, nice job, man. Way to come through on that. That was
Let
clutch.
me ask you a question, DJ. I do have a trivia question for you.
Yes, about time.
I know you know this, but I'm going to ask you anyway. Who's the all-time Mets home run leader?
Ooh.
This one was surprising for me, and it shouldn't have been.
The Mets all-time home run leader. So you immediately go to Strawberry and Gary Carter. And you think of Keith Hernandez a little bit too. But Keith Hernandez played a lot with the Cardinals too. So, and Gary Carter was an Expo for a while. I'm going to go Strawberry.
Mike Piazza.
Mike Piazza, really?
Mike Piazza. Man, I guess you underestimate his career with the Mets. I always associate Mike Piazza with the Dodgers.
Yeah.
But, yeah, their all-time home run leader is Mike Piazza. If you remember, Strawberry was out of there by about 1990.
Yeah.
He really wasn't there all that long. Gary Carter, like you said, he was with the Expos longer than he was with the Mets. Keith Hernandez, he wasn't really a home run hitter to begin with, but again, he split his time between them and the Cardinals. So, yeah, sure enough, I looked that up today. That kind of surprised me. And now I thought, well, it shouldn't. He's a Hall of Famer. And he was there a while. But like I said, I always associate Piazza with the Dodgers. I don't know why.
Yeah, and he jumped around a whole lot in his career too. You just kind of forget I mean, it makes sense. It really does when you think about it, I guess. I mean, considering the fact that the guys you think of that were Mets didn't really play a whole long time with them, and it makes more sense when you think about it a little bit. Man, I completely bombed that one.
Hey, I would have too. I wouldn't even guessed him.
I wish you wouldn't even came up with a trivia question now, because now I look stupid. So
I haven't done good on your last couple trivia. I've been pretty disappointed in myself.
you did good tonight, man. You nailed that one. That was good. All right, so Shea Stadium was through 2008 and Citi Field 2009 to present. Have you been to either?
No, I saw Shea Stadium from a distance. I was in New York City one time. To be honest, it kind of looked like a big dump. If I'm just being honest about it, I think Citi Field looks really awesome. I would love to go to Citi Field. Very big park, if I'm not mistaken. So, definitely kind of a pitcher's park. Not a big fan of that, but I think Citi Field, it looks really pretty. It's kind of got that old feel to it, but I've never been. How about you?
No and no. So when we went up to Yankee Stadium, nope, haven't hit either of them. Went up to Yankee Stadium, the old one, like I said, and had the Mets been in town the same time that the Yankees were, we would have done it, but they weren't. It's kind of like, I don't know, it's a little different. Most of the time, even here with the White Sox and the Cubs, there's not a lot of times where they're home at the same time. I don't know if that's on purpose or whatever, but just kind of is what it is as far as that goes. So I don't know if that's a thing in New York, because they're in such a huge city, so I don't see it being too big of a problem. Completely different areas as far as traffic goes, anything like that. So I think it'd be a completely different area to have to even worry about that. It's kind of the same way in Chicago, really, with the north and south side. They're so far apart, traffic wouldn't matter. I mean, to an extent it might, but it depends on what time they were playing every day. But I don't know. I don't really get why it's not. But no, I've never been to either one. And like you said, City Field does look pretty cool. That'd be cool, man. If I tell you what, though, man, you got to go to a City Field game, and you got to get New Yankee Stadium when you're at it, man, because you better get both of them. You got to plan that out a little better. And if it takes you a couple days of staying in New York, you got plenty of things that'll keep you busy in New York between games. So that's definitely a way to do that. So when that opportunity does come for me, I will have to go to the new New York Stadium and City Field both.
Have you been to Cooperstown?
Nope.
Oh, man, I would love to do that too. Somehow, I know Cooperstown's, a little ways away from New York City, but if somehow you could plan a week and go to those stadiums and in between somewhere there, go to Cooperstown, that would be a baseball fan's dream, man. It'd be awesome.
Ah, man, that's a very good point. And then you're pretty much really close to Toronto when you go to Cooperstown, so I don't know.
Making a big circle.
Big old circle up there, and try to you could definitely make a pretty awesome trip out of that, no doubt. So
yeah.
Well, who's your favorite Met of all time?
This is easy. I was a huge Darryl Strawberry fan back in the day, so this is so easy for me. Yep, I was over the moon when the Yankees got him. I don't know if you remember, but he'd gotten into some trouble, and he had a couple good years with the Dodgers after he signed with them, but then his career got off the rails. True redemption story. He's kind of gotten his life straightened up now. He's a Christian. He's a speaker. But Darryl Strawberry at-bats were can't-miss at-bats, and he had some clutch home runs down the stretch in some of those Yankee seasons. I loved Darryl Strawberry. And really, 1B would be Doc Gooden, man. I loved – Doc Gooden was such a phenom. I don't know if you've went back and researched that rookie year he had, but wow, just a freak show, man. But, again, drugs got involved, and really Doc, he somewhat resurrected his career with the Yankees, but he really blew a big opportunity, man. He could have possibly been like a Hall of Famer. He still won 194 games. Even after all that, he still won 194 games. That's crazy because he lost several seasons in the middle there. But who's your favorite Met?
That's a good point. I honestly just pulled up Gooden's stats the other day, and wow. You kind of think of him as – you kind of forget that his rookie year, obviously, and then the couple years after that, just dominated, came on the scene and just destroyed people. He was really good his whole career, to be honest with you. And, had he not been in so much trouble with the drugs, he would have probably been a Hall of Famer. I really believe that because, man, was he a special talent. But I'm going to go with Nolan Ryan. This is my spot to plug him in. I'm not really a Mets guy. I never have been. I don't really like the Mets. They're down there, way down there for me. Like I said, I've been groomed to hate them since the 69 Mets ruined the Cubs' chances. To my grandpa and my dad, the 69 Mets are the 2000 Cubs. The 69 Cubs are the 2003 Cubs for me, if that makes sense. The team that broke –
I got you.
It was the 69 Cubs. 2003 broke my heart. So I've been groomed to hate the Mets all these years, and I got to go with Nolan Ryan, though. I got a couple things for you, though, on Nolan Ryan, man. This guy, 324 career wins, 3.19 ERA. He pitched from the time he was 19 till he was 46.
And he was still good. He still threw a no-hitter way up in his 40s. I don't know when, but he was still good.
David, he went 4 years in a row at the age of 40, 41, 42, and 43 in leading the league in strikeouts.
I didn't know that. That's awesome.
40, 41, 42, and 43 years old. He led the league in strikeouts. Are you kidding me? My arm's going to fall off, and I'm 40, man. 5,714 all-time Ks. Best all-time, obviously. He pitched till he was 46 years old. We forget that, don't we? 46! That's crazy.
Yeah.
One of the best
and
ever.
And he kicked Robin Ventura's butt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that moment too, man. He was a White Sox at that time, so it made it even better. He
No
got
doubt.
beat down. You don't come out a country strong Texas boy like that, who throws over 90 and is an absolute hoss, and expect not to get a little beat down.
I'm gonna be honest, man. If I had to pick one major leaguer that I would like, former major leaguer that I would like to meet, it would be hard to pass on Nolan Ryan. It would be so hard to pass on Nolan Ryan. I love that guy. I love the competitive spirit, the attitude. You know, he was like one of the first like really hard throwers too. You know, a lot of those guys that were alleged to have thrown hard weren't.
Yeah.
And so it's amazing now. You know, you'll hear guys say, "Well, he throws 100, an arm injury's coming." That dude pitched, you know, probably close to 400 innings some year. I mean, amazing, just an amazing guy, man. Amazing stamina. I don't think he ever missed an extended period of time for an arm injury. So, man, you can't go wrong with Nolan Ryan. I don't blame you at
Here's the
all.
whole point. You're right, and that's a good point you bring up about never having an arm injury. He's a big advocate of how much we baby these pitchers nowadays. He is a big advocate of how much these guys just get babied so much that he thinks it's the problem, really, to be honest with you. And he doesn't understand why a starter cannot go 8 innings every time he pitches. He really doesn't. He's always been an advocate for do your job every 5th day, and you better be able to pitch a whole game, basically, is how he feels about it, man. And the guy that's pitching from the time he's 19 till he's 46 without an arm injury, how do you not listen to a guy like that?
You can't
Maybe
argue with him.
guys are doing it wrong, man, because he's not a fan of that kind of stuff. Specialists, all this stuff, he doesn't like it. So I don't know. Interesting though.
Very interesting. Yeah, if anybody wants to study on a crazy career, pull up Nolan Ryan. I mean, he was the real deal. Obviously 5,000 strikeouts, he was the real deal. But he had just some amazing seasons in there. But he had some seasons of high ERA too. You know, that was kind of a knock on him. But when you're throwing 330 innings, you know, you're in there when you have it and when you don't have it. You don't have it every one of those innings. And he just found a way around it, I guess.
Unreal, man. Yeah, he was wow. Unbelievable. Yeah. Unbelievable player. So, well, what do you think, David? That's all I've got, buddy. You got anything to add?
No, that's it, man. It's going to be an interesting year to watch the Mets.
Yeah, it'll be interesting, man. We'll see what they can do. They've got the talent, man. They can compete.
Yep.
I'm very intrigued and interested to see what the Mets will do in 2020.
Yep. Well, sounds good. So who we got next?
That's a good question, man. Let's talk a little off air here. We got to get a couple in tomorrow, no doubt. We're starting to run out of time, so we'll figure it out and we'll go from there. And thank you to our 37 fans that we got out there. You know, we appreciate you checking in on us and listening to some baseball talk, getting away from all this madness going on in our world. And we'd love to have you as fans subscribe to our channel and listen to our podcast as much as you possibly can. And with that, we sign off. David, good to have you, man. And we'll do it again tomorrow night, buddy.
Sounds great, buddy. Good to see you.
See ya.